Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all today? Are you enjoying the conference? I must say you're very enthusiastic. The clapping and the cheering, you know, that's perfect for me. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Swami for the beautiful flowers and the beautiful handbag and the beautiful plaque. Even though I dropped the plaque. I used to be a cricketer, you know, and I dropped the plaque. So. Thank you very, very much indeed. I'm very grateful, and thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be here today. It wasn't easy getting here, but I'm here, so I'm going to make the most of it now. And I hope that you enjoy what I'm going to be talking to you about over the next 45 minutes or so. This is my first time to Baroda and Gujarat. Of course, I've been to India a few times before, Mumbai maybe 2 or 3 times, New Delhi and also Kolkata. I'm also heading to Kolkata the week after next, so I'm quite looking forward to that. So I've got 2 visits to India in the next 2 weeks, 2 different places, so I'm very excited. Of course, when I come to India, the welcome is always warm. The food is always a delight, and the people always have a smile. So I'm grateful to be here. So today I'm going to talk to you about management and leadership in the global world. You know, the world is becoming a smaller place. You can be anywhere in the world now within 24 hours. Am I right or am I wrong? Right. Technology has moved so quickly now. 20 years ago it was impossible for me to set up a meeting on the telephone. The only way you could set up a meeting was by tracking people down and arranging a meeting face to face. There's no need for that anymore, is there? With technology that we have. So we're moving forward at a very fast pace. So let's move on a little bit. A little bit about myself. I hail from the United Kingdom, close to the city of Manchester. Do we have any Manchester United football supporters here? Okay, we have a few. Any Manchester City? Okay, they're starting to appear Manchester City now, since they have big money. Before there was no Manchester City supporters. Now there's lots of them. So. Liverpool and Arsenal, yes? Any Liverpool or Arsenal? Okay. Do we have any cricket fans here in the audience? I know cricket is very big in India. And of course the English cricketers are on a high at the moment, having just beaten Australia. What happened? All out for 60, Australia. Do we have any Australians in the audience? Okay. So, you know, my first job was, you know, I'm a very keen sportsman, or I was, of course. Now my hair's disappeared and my weight has come on over the years. But when I was a young man, I had the opportunity to left school, and I was recruited by one of the English Division 1 football team, Bolton Wanderers. They're now not in the Premier League anymore, they're in the Championship, the one below the Premier League. But as a 14-year-old, I had sport. I was, to a certain extent, I would say that at school, I was more interested in sport than I was with maths or English, if you know what I mean. I was more interested in scoring a goal than I was getting a gold star for my maths test. Yeah. And sport was my life. When I was 14, I had the opportunity to join this team as a schoolboy player. One day I was playing for my team, somebody came along, saw me, a scout, and before I knew it, I'd signed for the team. And then for the next 2 years, I was spending my time at the weekends playing against Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal youth team. It was so exciting for me. A young boy. My aspiration was to be a professional footballer and then go on to play for England, have 100 caps, and maybe captain the team. Of course, that was my dream. Everybody has a dream. Am I right?
Yes.
Do you all have a dream?
Yes.
Do you all have a plan?
Yes.
Do you all have a strategy?
Yes.
Very important, I think. So this was my team, and when I was 16, I then signed as a trainee professional footballer. Wow. Job title, apprentice professional footballer. I was excited. And for 2 years, I trained with the best. At the time, the team was doing well. They had many, many stars in the team, and I was rubbing shoulders and being mentored and coached by some of the senior players. But when I got to the age of 18, the decision had to be made. Will they offer you a professional contract or not? I was hoping and praying and trying, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. I always remember that day. The manager said to me, "Michael, come in the office." He said, "I need to see you." He said, "I've got some good news and some bad news for you." I said, "Okay." He said, "The good news is everybody likes you here. You're a likable player, a boy. We all like you. The bad news is we're not going to offer you the contract." Well, you can imagine how I felt. I thought my world was over. My dreams, my hopes, my aspirations were all destroyed, just like that. But as Nelson Mandela once said, it's not the way that people knock you down, it's the way you get up. Dust yourself down and start off again that counts. And I always believe in life, if one door closes, another door opens. And I think it's true. So, my football career came to an end at 18. The good news is, I carried on playing as a semi-professional player in the non-leagues for another 10 years, although I wasn't playing at the highest level. And then, of course, I had to think, well, if I'm not going to be a sports person, what am I going to do? I'm 18. I could have done better at school. What am I going to do? As luck happened, I was offered a traineeship in the electricity industry of the United Kingdom. In those days, like here in India, it was nationalised industry. And I got a very good training. They sent me off to college to study, and then they sent me off to university. I clawed some of my education back. And I spent 18 years working in the corporate field. I started as a trainee and ended up as a HR director running a £2 billion project. I've worked myself from the bottom to the top. And that wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Along the way there was many challenges. In those days the structures were large. There was row after row after row after row after row of structures. In those days there was many job opportunities, but today we live in today, the structures are leaner and meaner, and the opportunities are not always there. As Adam Smith once said, that famous economist, small is beautiful. And I believe he's right. When I was in my early 30s and just graduated with my MBA from the University of Liverpool, I decided it was time to leave corporate life. It was another stage of my life. So in 1994 I set up my first business, MPA Consulting. That was 21 years ago and still running today, based in our offices in Manchester, Carrington, right next to Manchester United training ground. So if any of you come to England or UK, give me a call and I'll show you around the training facilities there. Who knows, we might bump into Sir Alex Ferguson. And by the way, he sends you his very best wishes. So, in 2003, I got a little bored just working in the UK. Have any of you been to the UK? Hands up, please. Okay. Now, the UK is a nice country, but it's a small island in the middle of the Atlantic. Yeah? And I thought to myself, well, there's more to life than the UK. But I always like travel, you know? I love to travel. And in 2003, I set up my second company, Michael A. Potter International. And that's been running now for about 12 years. My job has now become a hobby. You know how you've succeeded in life when your job becomes a hobby. And that's what you should aim as young people. Make your job into a hobby. This isn't work for me, this is pleasure. I'm travelling, I'm meeting all of you, I'm experiencing this beautiful culture in India. This is a hobby for me. Now, my workplace is the world, not Manchester anymore. I'm traveling around the world, I'm doing different things, different projects. Last month I was in Manila in the Philippines. This month I'm in Bangladesh, in India and Malaysia, and next month I'm in West Africa, Ghana. This is my job. I'm so excited about it though. So now these days I've become a writer, speaker, a trainer and a consultant. Are any of you member of any professional body or learned organisation? Hands up. Anyone a member of any body? Institution of engineers or institution of chartered accountants? Yes. I would say to you it's important to have some professional standing as you move through the world, as you move through the echelons of the corporate world or whatever world that you live in. It's very important. And I'm not related to Harry Potter. But sometimes I wish I had his magic wand, so you can solve a problem just like that. But life isn't like that. If we all had magic wands, wouldn't the world be a boring place, yeah? It would. Sometimes we have to take the rough with the smooth, the good news and the bad news. Yeah? For if we're strong enough, we will prevail. So over the years I've developed some areas of expertise, and I'm not going to go through them all because time is of an essence, and I really need to get into my presentation. But these are some of the issues that I'm looking at. Now, my mindset is completely global. I'm not just thinking about UK, I'm not just thinking about Europe, I'm thinking globally. When I'm talking to you today, everything I'm talking about is global. And I think young people today, aspiring professionals, need to have this global mindset. Would you agree?
Yes.
Global mindset is very important. Thinking outside of the box is very important. Yeah? Challenging the norm in the right way is very important. Sometimes never taking no for an answer in the right way is also important. There's always a solution if somebody says no. So these are some of my customers who I've recently been working with. You can see some Indian companies there, Tata in particular. And you know, these are interesting. Public sector, private sector, banking, finance, engineering. You know, so you pick up a breadth of experience. When you go into consultancy, you're working with many different types of companies and organisations. And as a consultant, you have to adapt accordingly. One of the other biggest challenges in the world, I think, today is culture. Understanding and respect for culture. And this is one of the biggest challenges I've faced going around the world. Culture. I've made many mistakes. But when you make a mistake, you learn, and you don't make the same mistake again. So these are the countries I've been working in so far. It excites me every time I add another country to that list, I can tell you. It's like scoring a hat-trick, or 50 when I'm playing cricket. I never got 100, you know, in my cricket career. My highest score was 99. When I came off, they said, "Well batted, Mike." 99. It's not good enough though, is it? I never ever lived that one down. I'm too old now to score 100. But anyway. Has anybody had to score 100 runs here in the audience? Hands up. Wow, congratulations. You know, people who score 100 runs, they have a lot of patience, you know. Yeah? A lot of patience. Yeah? They wait for the bad ball and hit it hard. Yeah? They treat the good ball with respect. And it's the same in the world of business. Yeah? It's the same. It's all about timing, your career, your life, and everything else. I picked up 1 or 2 awards, and I'm pleased to say they both came from India. People must like me here in India. So I'm very grateful. And it's great to be back here. You know, back in Manchester, I have my own think tank. Think tank. This is a group of eclectic young professionals from all over the world. And these are the people who help me to put all my material together. I'm a bit like a doctor on the rounds, going around the hospital. And my junior doctors are these people. I give them some advice and guidance, but these are the ones who come up with the solutions. And the presentation you will see today is down to the hard work of these people. The Manchester Research Group. My latest piece of work. You see, in the global world you can't keep still. You have to keep thinking of what's next. You have to keep thinking, okay, that's been around now for 2 or 3 years, it's time we moved on a little bit. It's all about cutting edge. Would you agree? And we have to think, what's going to come up next? What is the key issue? These are 2 of my recent pieces of work. The new People Matrix Management Model. If anyone is interested in that, you can have a look on the website. There's an article there to support the model. And we've just commissioned our new international mini executive MBA. It's not to be confused with a full-time MBA at a business school. It's a short MBA. So this is our latest piece of work. And this is my new paper, which I'll be presenting in Bangladesh next week. Strategic People Management, Key Challenges 2020 and Beyond. It's hot off the press. It's that hot it's not even been presented yet. But will be launched in Bangladesh next week. So if any of you can make it to Bangladesh, I look forward to seeing you there. Corporate social responsibility, is that important?
Yes.
Is the environment important?
Yes.
I think so. CSR doesn't have to be about money, it can be about time. Giving your time to a younger person to help to point them in the right direction is CSR. Big companies like to give money, charity, funding to help needy cases. We have our own bursary award. And recently it's been here in India for the last it ended last year. The bursary award helps to pay for somebody's education for 1 year. Fees, books and travel. That's what it's about. For me, it's giving something back to the profession that has been good to me. Now, let's move on to the real reason we're here. Globalization. Leadership and globalization. So, what is globalization? Globalization is the process by which businesses or other organizations develop international influence or start operating at an international scale. Wherever we look across the world, things are becoming more and more global. India is at an exciting time. It's just about to surpass China and become the most populous country in the world, probably in the next 3, 4, 5 years. And as an economy, I believe it will also overtake China in the next 4 or 5 years. So India is in an exciting phase, I believe. And I think there's lots of opportunities for everybody. However, opportunities also present challenges. And these are the issues that we face in today's world. When we talk about globalization, I've not got time to go through every little issue here, so I'll pick on a few. There's a number of things. In some cases, globalization is good, but it also can have negative effects. Some negative effects of globalization might be exploitation, poverty, environment, profit before the environment, things like this. But also, there are positive things about globalization. People now in different parts of the world know how much a product costs. You can purchase and buy over the internet from anywhere in the world these days. So things have changed. The advance of technology, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. How many of you are on LinkedIn? Hands up. You should all be on LinkedIn, please. You should all be on LinkedIn. Of course, if you agree with it. You may have other views. But LinkedIn has helped me as a network. Networking is very important, whatever job, role, or position you're in. The bigger the network, the easier life becomes. That's true. Would you agree? The smaller the network, the more difficult things become. Not as easy to get things done. So, these are some of the challenges of globalization. Let's look at the Indian economy. GDP, 2.308 trillion US dollars. GDP growth, 7.3% and rising. That's a good set of things. Inflation, 5%. Unemployment, relatively low based on your population. Am I right? 1.2 billion, is that right?
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Forgive me if I'm 1 or 2 out, but it's round about 1.2 billion. Your main industries, software, petroleum, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, agriculture, textiles, to name but a few. Even when I'm in Africa, I'm there walking around in Accra, capital of Ghana, I'm looking around and I'm seeing lots of Indian nationals. And I get sometimes speak to 1 or 2 of them. Oh, you're here in Africa, what are you doing? Well, I'm an IT expert. I'm an IT expert, and there's a big need for my skills. And I think that magnifies the fact that Indian IT professionals are sought after all over the world. Maybe number 1 in the IT consultancy sector. Look at these figures. India's taking the lead. India in the orange, China in the red, and the world average in the black. Percentage GDP growth. And over the next 5 to 10 years, India, the projections are that India will overtake China. The economy in China is stuttering at the moment. They're stuttering. They're struggling a little bit. There's a downturn there, but India continues slowly to develop and move forward. And the statisticians and the forecasters are saying in the next 5 to 10 years, India will overtake China. That's great news for you all. Congratulations. So who does India deal with? Who are your customers in the global world of business and products? Well, the EU, 17%. US, 12.5%. And surprisingly, United Arab Emirates, nearly over 10%. Your main import partners, China, EU, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. So you have very strong links with the UAE here in India. So why does the world need global leaders? Does the world need global leaders, do you think?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
I think we do. I think we do need leaders. Well, today's global problems cannot be solved by governments alone, or by business alone, or by civil societies alone. They have infrastructure and support and mechanisms and policy and procedure and process and bureaucracy in some cases, but they need people at the helm to steer the ship. People with the right qualities. Policy alone will not see things through to the end. So cooperation and partnerships are needed. There is therefore a need that the global leaders are aware of these situations. So the leaders of tomorrow also have a global responsibility. Would you agree?
Yes.
They do. They have a global responsibility. And in particular the environment. It's our responsibility to make sure that the environment in 40 or 50 years' time is good enough for our children and their children to be able to live like we do today. Would you agree?
Yes.
So these are some of the challenges of global leadership. It's not easy. It's not easy being a leader. I often see, when I used to work for companies like the Rolls-Royce and the BBC, I used to see intakes of graduates coming into the company, 50 every year. Same age, same qualifications. And when they first come in, they're all even. Or after 2 years or so, one or two of them start to appear. Personalities start to come through. Leadership starts to emerge. And then after 4 years, you can see all of a sudden, out of a batch of 50, maybe 2 or 3 people who are starting to get promoted, starting to get well thought of by the peer group, and emerging as young leaders. Not everybody can be promoted at the same time. True?
Yes.
Even though we have the same age, the same qualification, the same education, there's something there that stands out. And it's the leadership quality sometimes of people that adds value and makes them move up the ranks quicker than other people. Are leaders born and not made? How many people think leaders are born? Hands up. How many people think leaders are made? Hands up. Okay. I think it's a mixture. It's a mixture. So the leadership challenges of globalization. Well, we've seen already dramatically increased flows and mobility of international talent in the workplace. A lot of my work now is around talent management. Developing and nurturing younger people for the jobs of tomorrow. Talent management. It's a hot potato. It's one of the biggest people management strategies and issues currently happening in the world. There is a war going on for talent, even though many countries are still suffering in a sharp recession. The war for talent will never end. We see mass migration now as we've never ever seen before. Some of it is planned, some of it is forced. But people are moving around all over the world now. Would you agree?
Yes.
The thought of working in another country for 2 years or 3 years is no longer a challenge for many people. In fact, Generation Ys, your age group, many of you here today, would see that probably as something you would like to do. How many people here today would like to work in a foreign country for 2 or 3 years? Hands up. How many of you would like to work in a foreign country full time? Hands up. How many of you would like to stay here in India? Hands up. That's nice. That's great. Okay. Most of you like to stay in India. That's good. Congratulations. But we're all not the same. Some of us are happy here. Some of us want to broaden our horizons. It's personal choice. I'm on a journey. My journey is not ended yet. Every day is an adventure. It was an adventure last night, being picked up at 3:30 a.m. at the airport and driving for 2 hours in the pitch black, not seeing where I was going or anything. It was challenging for me, avoiding the cows going down the road. We don't have this in Manchester, you know. But it was exciting. It's powerful. Wow. It's powerful. It's culture, isn't it? So the leadership challenges of globalization. New configuration of teams. Are you familiar with matrix working? Matrix management working. Most of the work today is now done in projects. It's project management. Would you agree?
Yes.
We're moving into a phase of project management. Silo working, when I used to work in corporate life, silo working has long gone. It's now all about project. And now it's matrix management. My latest paper. Matrix management, where you're working in diverse teams with people you've never worked with before. And you might not even have a boss. That's what we mean by matrix management. And that's what's happening around the globe. Virtual workers, people working at home. Nowadays, you don't even have to be in the office. There are virtual companies. People can work from home. Work-life balance is very important, particularly for Generation Ys. You know, the whole way of working is changing, and the skills requirements are changing too. And that's why we have to keep our skills and knowledge up to date. CPD, continuing professional development. Now, you've just had your lunch. I'm wary of that. After you've had a long lunch, you get a bit sleepy and a bit tired. This is what we affectionately call the graveyard slot for any trainer. So the challenge after lunch is to keep you all awake. Have we got any sleepers here? If anybody's sleeping next to you, put your hand up, okay? All right. I'm on the lookout for people who are sleeping. Okay, I have good eyesight now, okay? X-ray vision. There's rapid changes in organisation, vision, values and policies. You know, when we look at corporate culture, it's about your vision, your value. This is what are important today. And there's a push to address and define and promote a global sense of organisational culture. People are coming to work in India. Indian employees are going to work in other countries. It's a mix of culture. So the global leader, what sort of skills does a global leader need to have? Well, I keep mentioning this word culture. It's very important. 3 years ago, I got invited to go to Taipei, Taiwan. Anybody been to Taiwan? It's a nice place with nice people. They said, Michael, can you come and speak at our conference? We want you to talk about culture. I said, I will. So I got my team to put together a paper for me. And we decided that there was 3 levels of culture, having done the research. First level, the culture of the country. Here in India, you would agree, you have your own distinct culture. Am I right?
Yes.
It's different to Bangladesh. It's different to Pakistan. It's different to Afghanistan. It's different to Egypt. Would you agree?
Yes.
It's your own distinct culture. And then in any organisation, we have what we call corporate culture. If you work for Tata Group, it might be different working for another Indian company. Even though you have your own culture for your country, your corporate culture might be different. Would you agree?
Yes.
If you work for more than one company, you will realise that corporate culture is different. And the third level of culture, I argued, was personality, individual. Looking in the room, we all look different. Even identical twins, to a certain extent, act different. But we all have our own personality. Would you agree?
Yes.
Our personalities are distinct to us. And what defines our personality? It's our upbringing. It's our parents. It's our religion. It's our beliefs. Yeah? It's our discipline. It's everything that we bring together as we're young growing up until eventually we have a fully blown out personality. And that is the third level of culture. So I delivered this presentation and I said, people who are working need to be aware that other people have different views, different thoughts. And we have to accept, we have to have patience and respect for people with different views to us. And in the business world, this is very important. As in the non-business world, it's very important. I'm going to show you a short video coming up next slide. But before I do that, McKinsey & Company did a survey recently, and they said 76% of senior executives believe their organisations need to develop global leadership qualities. But only 7% think they are currently doing so very effectively. So you can see there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done in terms of global leadership, particularly if you're working for a multi-dimensional organisation, a multinational organisation. What I want to do now is quickly show a video. It's called Who Are the Future Global Leaders? And it's focusing on how Generation Y is shaping the future of business. How many people were born between 1980 and 2000? Hands up. 1980 and 2000. You are deemed as Generation Y. You know, in 10 years' time, Generation Y will be around about 70% of the global workforce. The future is yours. Do you understand me?
Yes.
I'm like President Obama. I'm 1 year older than him. I'm what we call a baby boomer. In 5-10 years' time, it will be time for me to step aside. And it's time for younger people to take up the reins. And this is what's happening in the global world. So, this was done by London Business School. And it lasts for about 3 minutes. Let's play the video now, please. You just need to alter the volume.
To 2004. And this is Molly, Generation X. Molly's grandparents had between 1 and 2 employees in their lifetime. Her parents, the baby boomers, had about 3 to 4. Molly is likely to have double the number of employees her parents had. Does this mean Tom is likely to have double that of Molly? Confused? Don't be. This means that Tom could have 15 to 16 employees throughout his career. And if Tom has children, Generation Z or digital natives, they've been technology whiz kids since before they could talk, could they have up to 32 employees? Since 2009, Adam King from London Business School has been surveying Generation Y to understand their attitudes towards work, employee engagement and leadership. He set out to answer a number of questions on the future of business. If the number of employers doubles for each generation, what expectations does this set for Generation Y, who are already entering their 30s, and in some cases already leading in organisations? 90% of those surveyed said they plan to leave an employer within 5 years, with over a third giving it just 24 months. So how can employers ensure value from employees who only stay a short while? It's a tough one, as almost 40% start a new role already planning their next career move, and are rarely persuaded by promotion opportunities. 54% actually feel more loyalty to their team than to the organisation. But what matters to them most is a good work-life balance and organisational culture. So Tom cares about his colleagues, but what else does he care about? 43% of the Generation Y survey said as future CEOs, they would prioritise making their organisation and world a fundamentally better place, over focusing on the financial worth of the business. So as work-life changes with evolving priorities of Generation Y, which employers will win the war for talent? They'll be the ones who can redefine what it means to work for them. We're crossing a meridian where financial value is no longer king, and social and human impact are increasingly important. A collective leadership culture is taking hold, driven by a sense of community and the courage to think beyond just the quarterly results. Right now, the future of business is being shaped by Generation Y. But what impact can we expect when Generation Z are in charge?
Okay. I hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah. Did you notice the Generation Z baby born with an iPhone? Yeah? Brilliant. It's true though, isn't it? You know, children of today have become masters of technology at a very early age. So you can see that the focus for Generation Y, according to the research and according to what we've heard in the video, is the fact that Generation Y, although money and remuneration is important, it's not the biggest thing for them. So we're moving and evolving into a different world, okay? And these are some of the challenges that we're going to be facing. So, there was, so organisations are being told that by 2025, Generation Y will make up to 70% of the global workforce. So are Generation Y's leadership materials, or are they loose cannons? You know what I mean by a loose cannon, do you? Yeah. Unable to control or pull them back, you know? Well, within the Generation Y, of course, there's going to be emerging leaders. There are already. And there will be some loose cannons. But within Generation Y, people are keen to be leaders. People desire career and personal development. Remember, it's a shared responsibility, personal development. It's not the employer's responsibility. It's not your responsibility. It's both of your responsibility. So personal development is down to you, down to your employer, or down to the area where you work. You have to take a hold of your career for yourself. Muddling through is not the way to go into your career. You must have a plan. You must have a strategy. You must be able to move forward. How many of you have got a personal 5-year plan? Hands up. 5-year plan. What do you want to be doing in 5 years' time is my question to you. Do you want to be in the same job today in 5 years' time? No. You've heard, Generation Y, there's no loyalty, you know? After 24 months, you're ready for something else, yeah? It's not the case in all cases. How many of you are aspiring entrepreneurs in the room? How many of you one day would like to have your own company or be a specialist or a consultant? How many of you? Wow, look at that. 40% of the, maybe 50% want to be entrepreneurs. I can truly say I'm an entrepreneur. I left corporate life. But entrepreneur is not that easy. Many of you who are already entrepreneurs, you take the rough with the smooth. They're the good times and the bad times. It's not all easy sailing when you're an entrepreneur. I say you live by the sword, you die by the sword as an entrepreneur. But entrepreneurs place high value on freedom and flexibility. Would you agree? I now have become unemployable. For me to fit into an organisation now would be very difficult. Having been an entrepreneur and worked on my own for so long, I would find it very difficult to adhere to a corporate structure. Very difficult. And we also need to think, what is our style? What is our leadership style? And there's different types of leadership styles. So, Generation Y are also said to possess a desire to experience hop and broaden their horizons. I.e., after 2 years moving on to something else if nothing's happening. Generation Ys are also perceived to be demanding and prepared to walk or try something else if they're not satisfied. But they are loyal to the team, not the organisation, as we saw in the video. There's loyalty within the team. More confident than the previous generation, Generation X. And more receptive to change. How many of you in this room are receptive to change? Hands up. How many of you are flexible? Flexible. Okay. For Generation Ys, this is a big must. You need to be flexible. You need to be receptive to change, depending on what you do, of course, for a career. I believe that Generation Y will become assets, and are assets already. They won't be a disruption. Although 1 or 2 employees occasionally are disruptive. But it takes all to make a world, doesn't it? So Deloitte, I'd like to share with you some work that Deloitte did recently. It was called the Deloitte 2015 Millennials Survey. This was a huge survey with nearly 8,000 respondents globally. On this first slide, the question was asked, how would you define an organisation that leads? What three things are most important when you are deciding if an organisation can be considered a leader? And what would be the most important thing, the second most important thing, and the third? And this is what came up, you can see. It's treatment of employees, e.g. pay, benefits, development and training programs. A survey was done, and when the millennials were asked, what's important for your firm, it wasn't just the salary. First of all, it was the brand of the organisation. Secondly, it was the location. Thirdly, it was what training and development am I going to get in my early career. And fourthly, it was the package. So it's not all about money anymore. The next question. What do you think the senior leadership team in your organisation currently has as its main priorities? And they could choose up to 3. And you can see here what came out. Employees' well-being, ensuring long-term future of the organisation, improving efficiency and productivity. And the Deloitte survey also then went on to say, in terms of thinking about individuals in a business context, how do you define a true leader? And this is what came out. These are some of the values that leaders are supposed to have. Inspirational. Do you think leaders should be inspirational? Yes. Are your leaders inspirational? Yes. Strategic thinker. Should leaders be strategic thinker? Yes. Or should we just be thinking about tomorrow? Strategic. Should a leader be visionary? Yes? Yes? Should a leader be decisive? Should a leader be passionate? Yes. Are you passionate? Yes. I can't hear it. Are you passionate? Yes. Are you passionate? Yes. That's better. Should leaders have interpersonal skills? Yes. I think so. So you've got it there. If you want to be a leader of the future, these are some of the skills that you need to have. There were some other skills, but less value were placed on visibility, well-networked, advanced technical skills, positiveness, driven, and autocratic. I think autocratic leadership has had its day. I think we've moved forward. Leadership crisis in developed markets. Far few millennials believe they graduated with strong leadership skills. So you look at the average score for the developed markets, 18%. The average for the global market, 24%. Emerging markets, 28%. Look at India, 38%. Huh? Very high. If you come from other parts of the world, you can see the countries there as well. Percentage saying leadership among their strongest attribute. In fact, India came out top. You can see how important leadership is in India from the survey. The results are there for you to see. So what challenges do future global leaders face? Whether you're in business, whether you're in the world of sport, whether you're in the world of religion, whether you're in the world of politics, it doesn't really matter, because some of the challenges for leaders are the same. They're the same. We have to learn how to influence, but to influence for the right reason is very important. Influencing for the right reason is very, very important. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink the water. A good leader can influence. Individuals, groups and organisations inside and outside their own firms. Representing diverse cultural, political, institutional systems. This is a challenge also. And working under conditions of rapid change and high uncertainty. Some organisations today don't know they'll be in existence tomorrow. Since 2008 and the financial meltdown, no part of the globe has been left unturned from the turmoil of the crash in the financial markets. And many countries today are still struggling and coming to terms with the impact of this crash. We've recently seen an example in Europe, Greece. Were you covering that on the news, Greece? Not only are individuals bankrupt, not only are companies bankrupt, but whole countries are bankrupt. We've never seen anything like this before. It's unprecedented. The core of global leadership is reflected in the being competencies, having a compelling vision, founded on clear, shared values that appeals to a diverse constituency. The key word, diverse constituency. The doing capabilities demonstrated by world-class expertise. Is India providing world-class expertise?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Can I just ask quickly what other countries are represented here today, very quickly? Shout out. Other than India. Any other countries represented? Japan, hands up. Japan. Anywhere else? Tibet. Germany. You're very welcome. Anywhere else? Huh? Croatia. You're welcome. Anywhere else? Russia. My business support manager, Claudia, is also Russian. She's such a good worker. Don't tell her that. She wants a pay rise. Anybody else? India. How many from India? I must move on. You're all very welcome, and I hope you're all enjoying the experience. And remember, network. Very important. Extend your network while you have the opportunity. 3 levels of competence for a global leader. Global business acumen. What do we mean by business acumen? It's an understanding of how the business works. Yeah? Even for me, working in time frames. I know that my customers in Malaysia and the Philippines are 8 hours ahead of UK time. When I get into my office at 8:30 in the morning, I've 1 hour until they go home. Do you understand what I mean? I've got 1 hour to do all my work, otherwise I've missed them. And then I have to wait for the next day. Unless, of course, I come into work at 4 a.m. every morning. That's not work-life balance. But being aware of how business and the skills that you need to have as a professional, that's what we mean by global business acumen. Global mindset. I no longer watch BBC News. I watch Al Jazeera News. Why? Because it gives me global view. So I don't just watch local or national news anymore. I want to know what's going on around the world. It's very important to keep up to date. Would you agree?
Yes.
You know, I learned about the tragedy in India last week with the terrible train crash you had here. I've learned about the floods going on in Myanmar and neighbouring countries. I've learned about the rainy season here in India. If I just watch BBC, with all due respect, I wouldn't know that. So we have to open our minds to what's going on around the world. Remember, the world is a small place. Global citizenship is also very important. Being ambassadors for your own country if you're travelling abroad. Being ambassadors to people who come to visit your country. Yeah? Going the extra mile is very important. Inside and outside your own country. So global citizenship is very, very important. So, what do we mean by global mindset? Well, it's the ability to work effectively and comfortably in different cultural environments with diverse populations. My Manchester research group in the office, we have Russia, India, Pakistan, Bulgaria, Poland, Ukraine. Can you imagine what they're talking about on a daily basis? But the richness of the culture and the cross-fertilization of debate and talk is exhilarating. Global mindset. We need to have the right attitude. People are hired into jobs for their attitude. People are fired from jobs because of their attitude. Would you agree?
Yes.
There is no measurement for attitude. There's no test, no psychometric test. On Thursday and Friday I'm running a program called Advanced Psychometric Testing. Any of you like to come? In Dhaka. But I can tell you there's not one test that measures attitude. It's impossible to measure. Knowledge and behaviour, these are the key competencies. And global leadership requires a high degree of global mindset. So, what do 21st century global leaders need? I'm going to summarise. We need to be strategic. We need to be thinking outside of the box. Strategy, I mean anything more than 3 years when I'm talking about strategy. Long-term strategy is no longer applicable in the world that we live. We cannot really plan effectively for 10 years. We're not sure what might be happening in 1, 2 or 3 years. So strategy is now more about medium term rather than long term. Being realistic. We need to be innovator. We need to be good communicators. We need to be good relationship builders. We need to be able to mentor and coach. You know Nokia? Have you all heard of Nokia?
Yes.
Where is their headquarters? Correct. Nokia have just implemented reverse mentoring program. Reverse mentoring. And what they do, all the generation Ys, all the people with all the high technical skills, social media skills are now mentoring senior executives of the company on social media and technical skills. So the 20-somethings are mentoring the 50-somethings. Reverse mentoring program. Utilising skills. We need to be good decision makers, and this word global citizen. We need to be good global citizens. We need to enhance our own brand. The way we act, the way people see us. You all have your own brand, like it or not. People see you as a brand. You need to protect that brand and enhance that brand to make yourself more valuable to society. Have a think about it. The way you conduct yourself. Very important. Developing global leaders. We must be able to manage dynamic complexity. We must be able to respond and embrace and engage with wisdom and build global networks and build up a global competence. These are some of the challenges for those of you who want to be the future global leaders. And it's not an easy task. It's not an easy But anybody can do it. If you've got commitment, perseverance, stickability. Do you like that word? Stickability. It means you're never put off. Nelson Mandela had stickability. They locked him up for 25 years, but he never changed his vision. And when he came out of prison, he became the president. Speaks for itself, doesn't it? The man was to be congratulated. So the key multicultural competencies for global managers and leaders: a cosmopolitan outlook, intercultural communication skills, cultural sensitivity, understanding different people, different cultures, why they act, what they do, having respect, having the right to differ, but to share experiences and learn from each other is very, very important. Rapid acculturation skills, flexible management style, being able to adapt to any situation, and cultural synergy. These are some of the challenges that we need to have as future leaders. A quick example now, IBM. They set up recently in 2008 what they call the Corporate Service Corps program. And they send 10 to 15 individuals from different countries for community-based assignments in emerging markets. IBM is a multinational organisation with offices in lots of countries all over the world. The aim of this was to help communities around the world solve critical problems while providing IBM employees with unique leadership development opportunities. To a certain extent, it was a little bit like corporate social responsibility, but giving people experience and exposure to these situations. The second example is a company called VF. They sell jeanswear, workwear, and basically they set some challenges. The challenges they were facing were to relocate expatriates to other countries was proven to be very expensive. And there was a lack of talented executives willing to relocate. They didn't want to go away for 2, 3, 4 or 5 years. So what they did, they introduced something called Expat Lite, an innovative short-term assignment program of 3 to 6 months, not too dissimilar to IBM. And this allowed VF to be more flexible and to provide meaningful global learning and growth opportunities to rising leaders at a fraction of the cost that a full-blown-up expat relocation would cost. It was also less disruptive to the individual and his or her family. So it met within work-life balance, and people were more likely to accept this form of secondment. I'm going to finish now. My time has come to an end. And I hope you're still awake, and I hope you're still with us. So in my concluding remarks, I'm sorry if I've overrun. The problem is I can't stop talking once I start. I do apologise. The key challenges for future leaders: being able to rapidly change and work and deal and manage in an uncertain environment. Diverse cultural, political and institutional systems. Having an awareness and understanding. CSR, corporate social responsibility, will get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's big already, but it's going to get bigger. Environmental issues will get bigger and bigger and bigger. Even the USA, last week President Obama announced some very strong environmental targets that he was going to set his own country. That was a strong message. But that's for a country. As individuals and as organisations, we also need to be aware of environmental issues as well and have an understanding of it. Global migration is happening all around. People are coming and going and moving and staying. Cultural integration is a big challenge. having foreign workers come to work in India, and Indian workers going to work in other parts of the country and the world, countries in the world, is a big challenge. Being able to integrate one's culture into another culture is a huge and a big challenge. And finally, talent management. Talent management is one of the global world hot potatoes. The biggest challenge for organisations. Managing talent, recruiting talent, developing talent is a huge challenge. The war for talent is already on, and it will not stop. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I hope it's motivated you.
So, dear friends, we are extremely thankful to Mr. Otter. It's very, very difficult. Coming all the way from UK on to Dubai, on to Ahmedabad, on to Baroda. Whole night he was awake. Again whole night he will be awake. Night 11 o'clock he will start his journey there. He has taken so much trouble for us, and we must thank him. There is no thank enough for him.